What's going on YouTube? This is Adam with Push the Envelope, the channel that gives you everything artificial intelligence and machine learning. Thank you so much for joining me. Today we're going to be talking about one of my favorite tools for developing, that is Jupyter Notebook. For those who don't know what this is a UI that allows you to put both text and Python scripts or R scripts or Julia scripts into one executable file. It allows you to organize your code, put your thoughts down on paper, and then execute what you're about to do. So without further ado, let's get started. Alright, swapping over, you can see that I have a brand new Jupyter Notebook up and running. I am actually running a Jupyter Notebook through another one of my favorite tools, and that is Anaconda. So Anaconda is just a collection of a whole bunch of data science tools, and as you can see right in the middle, Jupyter Notebook is here. So hitting launch, it will take us to that other window with our brand new notebook. So up in the top, you can see I am running a Python 3 kernel. That means I'm about to do everything in Python. If you have other kernels that you're trying to execute with, you can change them by going to the kernel tab, change kernels, and you'll be able to see all the kernels that you have available. So this first line here is looking for our first line of code. So I'm just going to do probably one of the most basic things, and that is a simple hello world. So to run this, you can actually go to the left here. This is a play button. It will execute the cell. Other ways, up in the middle, there's a run button, or if you click on the cell tab, you can open it and see all the different run options with run cells right at the top. My favorite is clicking into the cell, holding control, hitting enter is the shortcut, as you can see in that cell tab on the right. These are the shortcuts to run each of these. Another cool thing is this isn't just looking for one line of code. You can split this up and make a whole script out of it. So if I split these, I'm able to print both, and it just prints both lines right to the screen. Next, one of the most powerful things about Jupyter Notebook is its ability to have multiple cells within a single file. So this is essentially multiple scripts running at the same time, or in sequence, that is. So if I go to the top here and hit the add button, it is going to add another cell for me to start inputting values. And I'm just going to steal this from the top, run the cell, and now you can see I'm running hello and world in two different scripts almost. Now, not only can you add, but you can also edit where those are. So I can take this bottom one, the print world, and I can move it up to the top, put it before the hello. If I want, I can even get rid of this line right here by hitting the scissors. And let me just add world back to this one so you can see a complete cell. Now, another one of the most powerful things with Jupyter Notebook is its ability to go in between code and text very easily. So if I hit the add button, again, this is looking for code. However, I can change that by going up here to the drop-down menu, and I can select Markdown. So Markdown is the text for the Jupyter Notebook. Now, Markdown is a whole language of itself, so there's a lot of tutorials and charts out there to show you exactly how to use Markdown. I'm not going to go through all of it, but I will show you some of the more basic commands. So right off the bat, I'm just going to do a quick pasting text to the screen. So this is text. Now, just like the code, you can execute the cells in the same way, but doing this will just paste the text to the cell instead of pasting it to an output. I can take the cell and I can move it to the top as well. Now, double clicking will allow me to go back in and edit it. If I want to change the style of the text, I can actually add a pound symbol or hashtag depending on how old you are. And I can say this is a heading. So as you can see, it's bright blue to show you that this is a heading now. And when I run it, you can see it is bigger and bolder. If I want to decrease the size a little, I can just add more of those pound symbols and run it again. And as you can see, it's a little smaller, but still that header output. Other things, if I delete what I have in here, I can make lists. So let's say I have a list of items that I want to do. I can just put each one in here. If I use the number up front and execute it, it'll put the items into a list. If I don't want numbers, I can go in here, change these to hyphens, and it will add bullets to each of them. And lastly, if I want to add a sub-item to item 2, I can hit a tab and add item 2.1. Execute, and you can see it changed the bullet format to be different for these sub-items. Now, not only can you do lists, you can also just edit the style of your body text. So if you use asterisks with your text, I'll do a single asterisk and say this is text. And when you execute it, it's going to italicize whatever you have in the middle of those. If I go in and I change it to 2 asterisks, it's going to bold it. And if I go in and change it to 3, it is going to bold and italicize it. Now lastly, these cells will also support HTML. So if you know HTML, you can come in and format these however you want. Just as an example, I will bold whatever I'm about to put in here. So let me say this is text again, using HTML, run it, and boom, it is now bold. All right, now moving on to some of the other things that you should keep in mind and things you can do with the notebook. So let me just clear everything out, and I am going to assign x to the value of 1, and I'm just going to print that to the screen to show you that it is indeed equal to the value of 1. So I'm going to add another cell, and as you can see, if I print x down here, it is going to take that assignment back here and run it in the next cell as well. It does not have to be in order. So if I want to move this to the top and run it again, even though this is above x equals 1, because I executed this cell first, it's going to run it up top here. And I'm just going to move this down again. Now, things to be careful of: if I actually just completely remove the x equals 1, and even if I run the cell, so it's no longer there, if I run this cell right here to print x, x is still stored in memory. So be careful of this. If you are deleting variables, you may still get values because it's still stored in memory. Best way to do this, or to get rid of this, is if you just delete the variable after you're done using it. This is going to completely wipe it, and when you try to run it again, you're going to get an error. Other ways, this is one of my fail-safes for when I'm running a script, just to make sure. Let me execute this to show you that it's back to being equal to 1. If I wanted to get rid of this cell, I can actually come up to the kernel, and I can totally restart the kernel, and I'm going to restart and run all. So what this is going to do is it's going to restart the kernel, and in the process of that, it's going to wipe everything stored in memory currently. So if I hit restart run all, it's working its way through. I do not have x equals 1 up here, so it is not going to be able to find x in memory. That's just a quick fail-safe to make sure that you don't have lingering variables when you have a long list of variables that you're changing in long scripts that you're trying to execute. Another thing to be careful of, if I throw that x equals 1 back in here, I'm just going to show you that again, equal to 1. Now if I change this value of x in different areas, so go down here, for those who don't know Python, don't worry about this, but it's adding 1 to the value of x. And if I print this to the screen, it obviously should give me the value of 2. However, every time I execute this specific cell right here, it's going to add the value of 1 to the whatever is stored currently as x. And when I run this again, it's not going to be storing 1 as the value of x. It's going to be storing 2 since I just changed it. So every time I run this, it's just going to keep incrementing. So again, another thing you need to be careful of is the sequential order of these. Now if I go and I run the cell up top again, and then I run the bottom, it'll be back to being 2. So things to keep in mind: don't fall into the trap of running cells as you're fixing errors and accidentally changing variables. Okay, next, let me just clear this input again. Don't worry about what I'm doing here. PyPlot is a tool to plot data to your screen. I just want to show you that not only can you print text and you can print numbers, but you can actually print figures to the screen. And again, I'm going to cover PyPlot in a different set of videos, so stay tuned for those if you want to learn what exactly I'm doing here. But for now, I'm just going to make a bunch of random lists, and I'm going to use PyPlot to plot those values. And as you can see, you can plot the figure directly to the screen. So you can print images, you can print these figures, you can print basically anything that you would normally print. Except for it is right here in the screen to be viewed. Okay, last thing, if I clear my output real quick, I am using Anaconda, like I said, to get this Jupyter Notebook. If you aren't using Anaconda, this may not work for you, so just go into your documentation to see if you are able to do this. But Anaconda has its own package management system, so I'm able to download and manage packages within Anaconda instead of using something like pip. If I use an exclamation mark and I say conda install whatever the package is, I'm actually able to download those packages directly into here. I can also change conda to pip, so I can pip install packages right through the cells to be executed in the notebook. So if I run this, I already have NumPy installed, so this should turn into an error. But the other thing I can show you is up at the top here, you can see this one's thinking a while, and this solid black dot means that the kernel is currently executing whatever cell you're trying to use. If for some reason maybe you have a never-ending loop or something is taking a lot longer than you thought, you can actually interrupt the kernel to give that execution back to you. So if you go to kernel, you can hit interrupt, and it's going to essentially do a Control-C and stop whatever you're trying to execute, so that I can go in here and I can say print hello world again, and it gives me back that execution. So that's all I have for you guys. Thank you for joining me. I hope you guys got something out of this, and stay tuned for other videos in the same series. Thanks.